Hello, everybody. My name is Jared Tate, the founder of the DigiByte blockchain. And today I'm excited to show you how you can download, install, and run the latest DigiByte Core Wallet version 8.26.1. So if you haven't heard yet, the latest version is version 8.26. And we recommend that every exchange, every mining pool, every user, and every third party service that's out there that uses a core wallet upgrade to version 8.26. So in this video, I'm going to show you if you are a brand new user and you've never downloaded a core wallet before, you have no idea what a core wallet is, then pay attention and keep watching. And if you already have a core wallet, I'll also show you how easy it is to simply upgrade and install the latest version. So before we go into an explainer of exactly how to install, download a core wallet, I want to talk about what a core wallet is, why it's important, and why it matters. So at its very basics, the core wallet is the core of the blockchain. It is the foundation of the blockchain, and it's very simple. A core wallet becomes a full node when you download it and install it on your computer. So a core wallet or a full node is somebody that is running the main source code that's put together in an application file you can download. Now you have to do this on a desktop computer. You cannot do this on a mobile phone. That's because it requires too many resources. And that's because it really is a full version of the blockchain. It validates transactions, it stores transactions history, it does everything. But this is why it's important to get more and more people to run a full node, to download it, because the blockchain becomes more decentralized that way. And it's not just DigiByte that works this way. You also have Litecoin and Bitcoin and Dogecoin and several other original, truly decentralized P2P UTXO blockchains that run off core wallets. So right here, I have the Bitcoin core wallet and the Litecoin core wallet. What I'm going to show you with DigiByte here in a little bit will also work for Litecoin, will work for Dogecoin, will work for Bitcoin, and a handful of other blockchains. Now, the important thing is, no matter what your favorite coin is, you should be running a full node in a core wallet to help support the decentralization of the network, whether that be Litecoin, Bitcoin, Dogecoin, etc. But what you will soon find is if you look at the top 500 cryptos by market cap, I'd probably say there's only a couple dozen of them that you can freely download, install, and run a full node core wallet for that blockchain. There's really not a lot. That's why I tell people there's really only a handful of truly decentralized blockchains out there. Now, if you look at the three, I would like to say that I think the DigiByte one looks a lot prettier to look at, and it's a little bit more intuitive. So we got to give the DigiByte team a pat on the back for that. So anyways, with that, let me get into explain. Oh, and the other thing that's important to understand here is when you download this, you don't need an internet browser. You don't need to log into any websites. You don't need any permission. And when you install it, as long as you have an internet connection, your wallet will talk to other people's wallets directly with absolutely no middlemen. This is the truly decentralized idea that Satoshi envisioned. We're talking about P2P, peer to peer, directly over TCP/IP, which, if you don't know what that is, TCP/IP is the very foundation communication of the internet. It's like TCP is like certified mail, and then IP is like the address the mail goes to. Except in this case, when you're doing TCP/IP, that means your computer is directly connected to somebody else's computer. So in this latest version, you see here that I am connected to 18 other people's computers around the world, and we're relaying transactions and blocks directly to each other with absolutely no middlemen. This is real pure decentralization, and this is why it's so important for people to run core wallets and full nodes. A core wallet is a full node, and to understand why it's important. And as you can see here, a lot of people still haven't upgraded to version 8.26. I'm only seeing one peer. I'm actually seeing a lot of version 7s out there still. So when we say that DigiByte is truly decentralized, we mean it. In fact, let me jump over here to my Windows computer. Boom, now I'm on my Windows computer. If you go to digibyte.io and you click on the nodes tab up here, you can actually see all the people across the world that are running the core wallet and have it installed. And pretty much most people have not upgraded yet. So that's why I'm doing this video and talking about why it's so important to be running a core node. So as soon as you download your wallet and you let it sync, it'll take some time to sync. What you need to do is come back here and check it out. Now, here in the last couple months, this website has seen about 16,000 different IPs, and that means they could be full nodes. Some of them could be people behind VPNs. It's really hard to accurate. Like getting a full node count is hard, but the important thing to understand is this is what we mean when we say DigiByte is truly decentralized. All these computers and full nodes, they're making direct connections without any middlemen versus a lot of the other crypto market where you have to go to a website, log in with a domain name, accept the terms of service. That's not real decentralization. Running a core wallet and a full node and helping support your favorite blockchain, if you even can, that's real blockchain decentralization. So, you can explore that map now. So where do you get the latest version of DigiByte? I recommend going to digibyte.io. You can view the downloads tab, and then all you'll have to do here is click download latest release, or if you want to directly click it without reading the release notes, just click the download link here. Now, we just barely released version 8.26, and here in the last 48 hours, it looks like we've had almost 300 downloads. We need to 10x that, all right? We need to 10x this here in the next couple of weeks. We need to get more nodes and more people because it's super important for everything that's going to happen moving forward with DigiByte, including the DigiDollar, which I'm not making this video about, talking about how to download and install. So I recommend clicking the link because then you can actually see the code. And the important thing to understand here is if I click on this latest release, you see how it has this commit hash and a green check mark? That means when you scroll down here to these files that they actually match, okay, the actual commit. Like they were compiled from that commit, so it's actual code. So now what you need to do is if you're on Windows, which we are, I'm just going to click this and I'm going to save that to the desktop and I'm going to click save and it's going to download. If you are on the new Apple Mac with the Apple Silicon processor, an M1, an M2, or M3, you want the ARM64. And if you're on the old Intel Mac, you want the x86. And then if you're on Linux, you probably know how to do this and you don't need to watch this video. But if you do, this is the x86 Intel build. Okay, so once you have that done, the next point is pretty simple. And you're doing this whether you're upgrading and updating or installing for the very first time. Now, what I'm about to walk you through is if you're brand new and you've never installed a core wallet before, this is what you do. Now, when you double click on the exe, which is the installer, it's going to give you this fancy warning message that's saying, oh, we've prevented an unrecognized app. Don't panic. That's totally normal. This still happens with Bitcoin Core. And the reason is since DigiByte is decentralized, there's no company, there's no entity, there's no group to apply to Microsoft for a developer certificate. So this is the same issue we run into on Mac. But all you got to do is click more info, run anyway. Like I said, you can verify the commit hash. Click yes for unknown publisher. And now you have the installer, and I recommend just following the basic instructions. By default, it's going to install it in program files DigiByte. It's going to take up about 100 megabytes. Click install. Voila, there it goes. And so if you already have it installed, like an older version of DigiByte, just do the same thing, and then it'll automatically replace it. Do back up your wallet.dat first if you already have it, but I'll show you how you can do that here in a second. But I'm going to click finish. Now it's going to say, hey, do you want to use the default data directory? Now, the data directory is where the blockchain's actually going to be stored. And so this is super important to make note of it because if for some reason you change this, you can make a custom data directory where the blockchain is going to be stored. But this is where your private keys are going to be stored. And if you haven't heard yet, when we say not your keys, not your crypto, what we're talking about is your wallet's private keys. And so in the case of DigiByte or Bitcoin or Litecoin, this is stored in a file called wallet.dat. And we'll go into that in a minute and I'll show you how to back it up and I'll explain. but it's important you make note of where this directory is. So on my Windows computer, it's users, Jared, app data, roaming, DigiByte. I'm going to click OK, and boom, it's going to open and it's going to start syncing. All right. Now, as you can see here, it's blank, and that's because we have to create a new wallet. But before we do that, I'm actually not a fan of the light mode. So what you can do is you can go into settings and you can click here to choose wallet theme, and we're going to go with dark mode. I'm going to hit OK, but in order for this to change, I got to close it and then I got to reopen it. Boom. I like this version a lot better. Now, as you'll see here, it says recent transactions may not be visible and your wallet's balance may not be incorrect. What the wallet is doing is a process called syncing, and this could take a few hours, and if you're on a very, very slow internet connection, it could even take a day or two, so just be patient. What I recommend is install it, let it do its thing, let it sync. It'll sync the headers, which are the block headers, which are like the top part of the block, and then it goes back and it actually downloads the entire block history, okay? And this is important to make sure that it's up to date and it's accurate and it is cryptographically verified the blockchain. So by you doing this and syncing, you're actually becoming part of the system that verifies the integrity of the blockchain. So don't look at this process as a pain in the butt. Look at it as you're doing your part to help keep DigiByte decentralized when your wallet's syncing, because you are. You're helping to verify the cryptographic integrity of the blockchain history going back almost 12 years now. As you can see here, we're 11 years and 41 weeks behind. Now, the estimator may be a little bit off, but like I said, depending on your internet connection, this could take a few hours up to a few days. So just be patient, let it run in the background. Now, once you have it going, you can click hide. Now, this next part is the most important part and important thing you can ever do in crypto. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new wallet, okay? And I'm going to name this Jared Demo. Now, the first thing I'm going to check is I'm going to click Encrypt Wallet. Now, everything else has more advanced options. Like if you want to do a watch-only wallet, you can disable the private keys. You can make a blank wallet. You can enable external signer. There's some advanced features. I'm not going to go into this. But you need to make sure that this is checked and that it's blue, okay? Because what we're going to do is encrypt your wallet.dat with a passphrase. So the next step here is to actually create the passphrase. Now, a lot of people use crazy complex passwords with 30 different characters that's auto-generated from them. I don't recommend that because you'll forget it and there's no way you can replete it or replicate it. I have actually lost wallets before. I've had at one point I had a wallet back in 2014 that had 150 Bitcoin on it that was on a laptop that I had stolen when somebody smashed my windows and took all my laptops and computers. But because I had my wallet.dat backed up in another state, and it was secured by an encrypted passphrase, I was able to recover all my Bitcoin and I didn't lose anything, even though they physically stole the computer that I had my main Bitcoin Core wallet on. So it's important that you 100% must encrypt your wallet and use a passphrase that you can remember if you have to recover it over a phone when you're telling a family member, hey, go into the safe, get it out. This is the passphrase. Move it to a new wallet. My stuff was just stolen, which is exactly what I did at that point in time. So now, what's the difference between a passphrase and a password? What I recommend is if you have a favorite novel or a favorite quote by an author or even a favorite Bible verse, use that. So what I'm going to do here, and I can click Show Passphrase. Remember, this is a demo wallet, so I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it. But I don't recommend you sharing with anybody other than your most trusted loved ones or maybe your attorney. I don't know. But anyway, here's what a good passphrase is. I'm going to say, the cow jumped over the moon to stop 1984. Dollar sign, dollar sign. All right. Now, the reason, so this is what we call a passphrase because I can remember this, I can write it down, I can highlight it in a novel on my bookshelf, and most people will not know any difference, right? But the important thing is, the reason I'm doing this is so that way if I go to send crypto, this no crypto can be sent until I enter a passphrase. I'm going to hit OK, and it says this warning: if you encrypt your wallet and lose your passphrase, you will lose all your digibytes. Are you sure you wish? So remember, make sure 110% that you remember what you're writing. Okay? Because I've had people that have come back 6, 7, 8 years later, and they're like, "Can you help hack my wallet and get? I can't remember my passphrase." I'm like, "I'm sorry, this, I can't break the encryption, right?" So make sure you make a note of this. Okay, click OK. So now it's going to create the wallet. Now you can see here that I have a wallet and I'm ready to start sending and receiving DigiByte. So if I want to receive DigiByte, say from an exchange, I'm just going to click receive, and you've got 4 different address types here. The legacy addresses for DigiByte, they start with just a plain D, okay? Now, SegWit, which was something we adopted in 2017, that starts with an S, which is really not used that much anymore, but it's there for backwards compatibility. And then Beck32, which is not base 5.8, which is a type of encryption, and that's what creates the prefix. This one starts with DGB1Q, and this is going to be the most common address you see now with exchanges and other services. And so remember, DGB, so that's easy to remember that it's DGB. Back in the day, 10 years ago when we first launched, both Dogecoin and DigiByte started with a D. So we had people sending DigiByte to Doge addresses and Doge addresses to DigiByte addresses, and it was confusing. You could actually recover the private keys. There was a technical way to do it, but it was totally a pain in the butt. So we made sure to add the prefix to all DigiByte addresses that say DGB, so that way you know where you're sending. And I always tell people, check the first 3 letters and check the last letter. Well, now with version 8.26, you see that this is the Taproot wallet. You actually have the ability to create a Taproot transaction. And that one stands with DGB1P, okay? And the way I remember it in my head is I'm like, oh, Taproot, that allows greater privacy with Schnorr signatures and some other features. So I think of it as DGB1P for privacy, and that's how I remember the difference between that and the SegWit addresses. So once you have that address, you can send DigiByte to this wallet. So that's the important thing. Now let's get into the wallet backup. This is the most important thing you should do when you first set up the wallet. And if you haven't done this recently, do it with your other wallets. All you have to do is go to File, Backup Wallet, and I'm just going to save this to my desktop. And I like to use the date. So today is November 2nd, 2025, and I'm just going to call it Demo 1, okay? And it's going to save that as a wallet.dat file. I'm going to save it, and boom, there's my wallet.dat. That's encrypted. That is on my desktop. Now, once you have that backup, I recommend to people, if you don't have your wallet.dat backed up in at least 3 physical separate locations, you're not doing it right. And like I told you the story when I had my laptop stolen from a car when it was broken into, because I had a wallet.dat backed up in a different geographic location and it was on a thumb drive in a safe, I was able to recover my crypto. So you want it in 3 separate physical locations. So a trusted family member safe. You could bury it in a jar out in the backyard as long as it's sealed up. You put the thumb drive in there. You could do a lot of things. There's actually a lot of ways you can be creative. And that's why I like wallet.dats and I don't use hardware wallets. If somebody breaks into your house, they know what the treasure or ledger's for, right? If you break into my house, I could have a thumb drive hidden in the attic. I could have it buried under the porch outside in the doghouse. I could have it out in the middle of nowhere in a geocache. You never know, right? And the key is if one's damaged, one gets burned, one gets stolen, you have others to replicate. And you should do this process often, right? At least every 6 months to a year, you should make sure that your backup's current and up to date. And anytime you upgrade to a new version, make sure you do the wallet.dat upgrade. Okay, so now that we've gone over that, I want you to make sure that whether you do this with Bitcoin, Litecoin, DigiByte, you make that wallet.dat backup, you do it in 3 physical separate locations. So, and think about it, whether it's a flood, water damage, theft, etc., you got to think ahead of that and you got to be aware that that could happen. And it's sad. I know people that have lost at this point almost billions of Bitcoin. I know people that when DigiByte did its last run, they were trying to figure it out and they couldn't get DigiByte out of their old wallet because it was from 7 years ago and they couldn't remember their passphrase. So there's other wallet options, but like I said, when you are running a core wallet, you become part of the blockchain and you're what makes it decentralized. So remember that. So I don't want to go too much longer because I've already been going here for 20 minutes. But if you got any questions, ask them below in this video. I will do a follow-up video for Mac. Just remember that when you first open the wallet, it's going to tell you can't open it. So then go to your settings and privacy and security in your MacBook and click open anyway. So with that, thank you very much for supporting DigiByte. Thank you for running a full node, and thank you for keeping DigiByte truly decentralized. Till next time, cheers.